The ballroom shimmered with gold light, the kind that makes everyone look richer, happier, more in love. A string quartet played softly in the background, while 100 guests leaned forward in their chairs, phones raised, waiting for the moment they all knew was coming. At the center of the room, billionaire Alexander Reed knelt on one knee, holding out a diamond ring that looked big enough to buy a small country. His voice, deep and smooth from years of boardrooms and business deals, trembled just slightly. "Juliet," he said, smiling up at the beautiful woman in the crimson gown before him. "You are my heart, my reason. Will you marry me?" Juliet gasped, a perfect mix of surprise and delight. Her hand rose to her mouth. She looked like a woman out of a magazine, elegant, composed, flawless. The crowd erupted in soft applause, cameras flashing. And then, a tray clattered against the marble floor. The sound sliced through the music like a gunshot. A waitress stood frozen a few feet away, eyes wide, her face drained of color. She wore the plain black uniform of the hotel staff, her hair tied back in a low bun, her lips parted, trembling as the words stumbled out before she could stop them. "You can't," she said, her voice breaking the silence. "You can't marry her." The room went dead quiet. Every head turned toward the trembling young woman, her tray still rolling in a slow, humiliating circle on the floor. Juliet blinked, her smile faltering. "Excuse me?" The waitress swallowed hard. Her name was Lena Carter, 28, a part-time server and full-time survivor. And right now, her world was spinning. "She can't marry you," Lena said again, louder this time. Her voice cracked under the weight of disbelief and heartbreak. "Because she's already married. To me." Gasps spread through the room, like ripples on water. Alexander slowly rose to his feet, his face unreadable. "What did you just say?" Lena's breath came shallow, her hands shaking. "I didn't come here to cause a scene. I swear I didn't. But I couldn't just stand there and watch it happen." Juliet's perfect posture collapsed. Her eyes darted to the exits, then to Alexander, then back to Lena. "This is insane," she said quickly, her voice sharp and brittle. "I don't know this woman." You do," Lena whispered. "You used to call me your wife." A stunned murmur rippled through the guests. The quartet stopped playing. The photographer lowered his camera. Alexander looked between the two women, the one he loved, and the one who had just shattered everything. His expression hardened. "You have 5 seconds to explain yourself." Lena's voice trembled but didn't break. 3 years ago, in Boston, we got married at City Hall. I thought she was dead. But here she is, standing in front of me with a new name and a billionaire fiancé. Juliet took a step back, her lips pale. "She's lying," she said. "This is some kind of blackmail." "I don't want your money," Lena said. "I just want the truth." Alexander turned to Juliet, his voice quiet, dangerous. "Is it true?" Juliet didn't answer. Her silence said more than words ever could. Cameras clicked. Somewhere, a guest whispered, "This is going to be everywhere by morning." Oh. And as the music faded completely, Alexander Reed's world began to unravel, one secret, one lie, one broken vow at a time. What none of them knew was that this was only the beginning. The headlines came faster than she could breathe. "Waitress crashes billionaire proposal." Who is Lena Carter? Mystery wife exposes high society secret. Her phone buzzed non-stop until the battery died, and even then, her name kept spreading through the internet like wildfire. By sunrise, she wasn't a waitress anymore. She was a scandal. Lena sat on the edge of her narrow bed in a queen's apartment that smelled faintly of detergent and old coffee. A thin sheet of morning light cut across the peeling wallpaper. Her little brother, Ethan, slept in the next room, his breathing steady under the soft hiss of the oxygen machine. She stared at her phone, dead, cracked, mercifully silent. Her reflection in the black screen looked nothing like the woman from last night. No lipstick, no composure, just exhaustion. "How could you do that, Lena?" she whispered to herself. "What did you expect would happen?" She hadn't planned it. She never even knew Juliet now would be there. She'd been working extra shifts for rent and Ethan's medication. The hotel was just another gig, another uniform, another night, until she saw her. Julia, the woman she'd once loved so fiercely that she'd married her with nothing but a cheap ring and a courthouse promise. They met 4 years ago at a coffee shop in Boston, when Julia was an art student who claimed to hate rules and loved rainy days. Lena had fallen hard. Julia was wild, impulsive, beautiful, everything Lena wasn't. They'd shared a tiny apartment with leaky pipes, laughed over ramen noodles, and dreamed of starting a bakery someday. And then, one morning, Julia was gone. No note, no call, just her clothes missing and the ring left on the kitchen counter. For months, Lena thought she was dead. Then she learned to stop asking questions, to survive, to take care of Ethan after their parents died. Until last night, she rubbed her eyes, but the images wouldn't fade. Julia's diamond necklace, her new name, the billionaire kneeling in front of her. The betrayal hit like a second heartbeat. A knock came at the door. Lena jumped. It was her landlord, Mr. DeSantis, holding an envelope. "Rent's late again, sweetheart," he said softly. He wasn't unkind, just tired of excuses. "I know," she whispered. "I'm working on it. Please, just give me a week." He sighed. "You seem like a good kid, Lena. But that scene last night, people are talking. You might want to keep your head down." She nodded, clutching the envelope he handed her. Inside was a printed eviction notice. As soon as he left, she sat down beside Ethan's bed. He stirred, his voice raspy. "You're crying." "No, baby," she said, forcing a smile. "Just tired." He looked at her with sleepy eyes. "Did you work late?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, something like that." He smiled faintly. "You always work too hard." Lena brushed a hand through his hair, her heart breaking a little more. She wanted to protect him from the truth, from the internet, from the chaos, from the betrayal that had shattered her life twice now. Her phone buzzed again as it charged on the counter. A new message appeared from an unknown number. "Private meeting requested. Alexander Reed." Her stomach dropped. The man from last night, the billionaire she'd humiliated in front of the world, wanted to see her. Lena stood frozen, her reflection staring back at her in the cracked mirror. And for the first time, she wondered if she'd just destroyed not one life, but 3. At the penthouse of the Aurelia Hotel, sunlight spilled through floor-to-ceiling windows, scattering diamonds of light across white marble floors. It should have been a morning of celebration. Instead, it was a war room. Juliet Marlowe, formerly Julia Carter, sat at a vanity surrounded by half-packed suitcases. Her reflection stared back at her. Perfect curls, flawless makeup, and eyes that no longer looked human. They looked hunted. Her publicist paced behind her, phone pressed to his ear. "We've scrubbed half the videos," he said, "but the hashtags are out of control. Number runaway wife is trending in 12 countries. You need to issue a statement." Juliet didn't respond. She twisted the engagement ring on her finger, the diamond heavy, suffocating. "What do they think of me?" The publicist lowered his voice. "They think you scammed a billionaire, that you faked your identity to marry into money." A dry laugh escaped her. "So, they're half right." He frowned. "You need to deny everything." "I can't," she whispered. "Lena's not lying." The words felt like glass in her throat. She'd spent 3 years burying her past, new name, new life, new accent when needed. Alexander had given her the kind of love she'd never believed in, calm, certain, safe. But safety built on lies always cracks. The door opened. Alexander Reed stepped in, no entourage, no warmth. He looked like a storm in a tailored suit. "Everyone out," he said quietly. The room cleared fast. Even the publicist knew better than to argue with a man who owned half the skyline. Juliet stood, clutching the edge of the vanity. "Alex, please." He cut her off. "Who is she?" Her mouth went dry. "You already know. I want to hear it from you," he said, voice low and measured, the kind of tone that had made CEOs crumble. Juliet took a shaky breath. "Her name is Lena Carter. We were married. Years ago. It was a mistake." His eyes narrowed. A mistake doesn't come with a legal certificate. She tried to reach for him, but he stepped back. I thought she was gone, she said quickly. After the accident, I panicked. I left Boston. I didn't think she'd ever find me. Accident? I owed people money, she confessed. My family, there were debts, dangerous ones. I staged a crash, disappeared. I thought I could start over. You were supposed to be my clean slate. Alexander's jaw clenched. So you married me under a fake name. Tears blurred her vision. I didn't plan to fall in love with you. I swear I didn't, but I did. He stared at her for a long, silent moment. Then, quietly, love, built on lies, isn't love. She reached for his hand, desperate. You don't understand. Lena doesn't want your money. She's kind, honest. She deserves better than this mess. You deserve better too. He pulled his hand away. You should have told me the truth before I got down on one knee in front of the world. Oh, Juliet's voice broke. If I had, I would have lost everything. You just did, he said, turning for the door. When it closed behind him, the sound echoed like a gunshot through the empty penthouse. Juliet pressed her palms to her face and let out a choked sob. For years, she'd built a tower of glass around herself, beautiful, untouchable, and fragile. Now it was collapsing, one secret at a time. And downstairs, Alexander Reed was already planning the next move to find Lena Carter and uncover every truth Juliet had tried to bury. The coffee shop on 45th Street was almost empty, the kind of quiet place people went to disappear. The smell of burnt espresso hung heavy in the air as Lena sat at a corner table, fidgeting with a paper cup she couldn't afford to finish. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She already knew who it was. When she finally answered, the voice on the other end was calm, cold, and unmistakable. Miss Carter, this is Alexander Reed. Lena's throat tightened. You found me fast. I don't like waiting for answers, he said. Meet me at the Sterling Tower. Noon. She exhaled, nerves spiking. Why? So your lawyers can sue me? A pause. No, I want the truth, and I don't trust anyone else to tell it. Click. The call ended. By noon, she was standing in front of the building, 50 floors of glass and money piercing the sky. The lobby guards didn't ask for ID. They already knew her name. The elevator ride felt endless, her reflection flickering in the mirrored walls like a ghost. When the doors opened, Alexander Reed was waiting in his office, back to her, hands in his pockets, staring out over the city. He didn't turn when he spoke. You caused quite a scene. She folded her arms, trying to steady her voice. I didn't plan it. I was working. I saw her. That's all. He turned then, tall, controlled, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. You expect me to believe you walked into my engagement party by coincidence? Yes, she said, holding his gaze. Believe it or not, I don't spend my life tracking billionaires. He studied her, not with arrogance, with calculation. You said you were married to her. Juliet. Whatever name she's using now. Prove it. Lena reached into her bag and pulled out a worn envelope. Inside was a faded marriage certificate, the edges creased and stained from years of being folded and unfolded. She placed it on his desk without a word. He scanned it in silence. The paper trembled slightly in his hand, though his face stayed unreadable. You really are married. I was, Lena corrected softly, until she disappeared, until she made me think she was dead. He set the paper down carefully, like it was evidence in a crime. Why speak up now? Why not let her live her new life? Because she was about to ruin yours too, Lena said, her voice steady now. And because I spent years grieving someone who didn't even have the decency to tell me goodbye. Alexander looked at her again, longer this time. You loved her. Lena gave a bitter laugh. I still do, in ways I hate myself for. Silence filled the office, broken only by the hum of the city below. Finally, he said, you realize what you've done? Every investor, every news outlet, they're circling like vultures. My company's value dropped 6% overnight. I didn't mean to destroy you, she said quietly. I just wanted the truth out. He stepped closer. Truth has consequences. I know, she whispered. I've been living with them for years. For the first time, his expression softened, just slightly. She fooled us both, he admitted. You through love, me through ambition. Lena met his eyes. So what happens now? Alexander glanced at the marriage certificate again, his jaw tightening. Now, he said, I find out who Julia Marlowe really is and what else she's hiding. As she left the office, Lena didn't see the way his hand lingered on the paper or the flicker of something almost like pity in his eyes. Because somewhere deep down, Alexander Reed knew this wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was personal. By the next morning, the story had grown teeth. News anchors dissected every frame of the viral video like it was a crime scene. The moment Lena shouted, "She's already married to me," was replayed on loop slow motion, cropped, subtitled, analyzed. Every network had a theory, every blogger had an opinion, and every headline had the same name: Alexander Reed. Inside his Manhattan penthouse, the air was sharp with tension. Alexander stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, while his assistant rattled off the damage report. Stocks opened down another 4 points. Investors want a statement. Your engagement is trending globally. He cut her off. Shut it down. You can't shut down the internet, sir. He ended the call. Behind him, Juliet sat on the edge of the couch, her red dress replaced by a pale sweater and trembling hands. She looked nothing like the poised woman from the night before. Her eyes were ringed with exhaustion. Her face streaked from crying. "Alex, please?" He turned, his voice cold enough to frost glass. "Don't. You don't get to beg for understanding when you lied to my face." "I didn't plan this," she said weakly. "I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" He laughed once, hollow and bitter. "You let me propose to a woman who was still legally married. That's not protection. That's humiliation." Juliet's voice cracked. "I didn't think she'd show up." She didn't show up," he snapped. "She worked there. She was just doing her job. You built this entire fantasy on lies, and she walked right into it." Juliet looked down, her fingers twisting the engagement ring until it slipped off and rolled across the floor. The small sound seemed deafening in the silence that followed. He watched it spin, then stop, the diamond flashing once before going still. "I loved you," she whispered. "No," he said softly, shaking his head. "You loved the version of me who could erase your past." For a long time, neither of them spoke. The city outside pulsed with noise, sirens, horns, life, everything. Alexander suddenly wanted to escape. When the intercom buzzed, he flinched. His security chief's voice came through. "Sir, paparazzi outside. They're blocking the driveway." "Handle it," Alexander said flatly. Juliet rose unsteadily. "Where are you going?" "To work," he said, "where truth still matters." "Oh." As he left, she reached for him. "Alex, please, don't let them destroy me." He didn't turn around. "You did that yourself." The elevator doors closed, sealing her inside a penthouse that suddenly felt like a gilded cage. Downstairs, the press swarmed. Flashbulbs exploded as Alexander stepped into his car. A reporter shouted, "Mr. Reed, did you know she was married? Are you pressing charges?" He ignored them, but his silence only made the story hungrier. Meanwhile, across town, Lena watched the coverage from the diner's break room. Her co-workers whispered behind her, their sympathy tinged with fear as if her bad luck might rub off. Her manager stormed in, holding a newspaper. "What the hell did you do?" "I told the truth," Lena said quietly. "Well, congratulations," he sneered. "You're famous and fired. The owner doesn't want this kind of attention." Lena nodded once, numb. She took off her apron, folded it carefully, and placed it on the counter. "Guess that's fair." Outside, the world buzzed with gossip and outrage, but she barely heard it. Her life had already burned down once before. What was one more fire? Still, as she stepped onto the rainy street, she couldn't shake one thought: the look in Alexander Reed's eyes when she told him the truth. It wasn't anger. It was recognition, the kind that only comes from knowing betrayal up close. The rain hadn't stopped in 2 days. It came down in soft, relentless sheets that turned the city into a grey watercolor painting. Lena sat in a bus shelter, clutching a paper bag with the last of her belongings from the diner, her name tag, a worn notebook, and a check worth less than her rent. She'd spent the last 48 hours trying to disappear, but the internet had other plans. Her face was everywhere. Memes, interviews, talk shows. Half the world called her a hero. The other half called her a homewrecker. A car pulled up to the curb. Black, sleek, quiet. The window rolled down. "Get in," said the voice she thought she'd never hear again. Alexander Reed. Lena froze. Why would I? Because I'm not asking twice. Something in his tone, controlled, almost weary, made her move. She slid into the car, the smell of leather and rain instantly overwhelming her. They drove in silence for several blocks, until the noise of the city faded behind them. The tinted glass made the world outside feel unreal. Finally, Lena spoke. "If you brought me here to threaten me, don't bother. I don't have anything left to lose." He glanced at her. "You think I'd waste my time threatening you? You already did once with your lawyers. That was before I realized you were telling the truth." Lena blinked. "You believe me now?" "I do," he said quietly. "But believing you doesn't fix the disaster we're in." She laughed, bitter and tired. "We? No, Mr. Reed. You have a scandal. I have nothing." He didn't argue. He just looked out the window, jaw clenched, like a man who'd built his whole life on control and was watching it crumble. They stopped at a riverside park, empty except for a few pigeons hiding under the gazebo roof. Alexander got out and stood by the railing, the city skyline glowing dimly behind him. Lena followed, hugging her arms against the cold. "Why bring me here?" she asked. He turned to her. "Because I want to hear everything. No PR filters, no lawyers, just the truth." She hesitated, then nodded. "We met 4 years ago. She was Julia, then an art student, broke, wild. We got married fast, maybe too fast. I thought love could fix everything." Alexander listened, silent, his expression unreadable. "She had debts," Lena continued. "Loan sharks. She said she'd handle it. Then one night, she didn't come home. Police found a wrecked car by the river. I thought she was gone. She staged it," he said flatly. "Yeah. Guess I was her first practice round before she lied to you." For a moment, they just stood there, the sound of rain hitting the river filling the silence. "She's not who she pretends to be," Lena said softly, "but part of me still misses her. Isn't that pathetic?" Alexander looked at her then, not with judgment, but with something else. Understanding. "It's not pathetic," he said. "It's human." The words hit her harder than she expected. She turned away, blinking fast. "So what now? You going to destroy her?" He exhaled slowly. "Not yet. I need to know why she did it, and if she did it alone." Lena frowned. "You think someone helped her?" He nodded. "People don't build new identities by themselves. There's a network behind this." Lena studied him for a moment. "You sound like a man planning a war." "Oh, I am," he said simply. "And you're the only one who knows how to find her weakness." She met his gaze. "You're asking me to help you take her down." "I'm asking you to help me find the truth," he replied. And as the rain fell harder, Lena realized she was standing on the edge of something far bigger than heartbreak, something that could either destroy her or finally set her free. 3 days later, Lena found herself standing in the marble lobby of Reed Global Headquarters, a place she had only ever seen in news clips and glossy magazine spreads. Now she was there, clutching a manila folder and trying not to feel small under the endless glass ceilings. Alexander's assistant led her into a private conference room overlooking the skyline. He was already there, sleeves rolled up, no tie, staring at a spread of documents. The calm precision of his movements made her nervous. "You're late," he said without looking up. "I'm a waitress, not a spy," she replied. "It took time to find what you asked for." That made him glance up and almost smile. Almost. "Did you find anything?" Lena slid the folder across the table. "Julia's old life. What's left of it?" He opened it and scanned the contents. Bank statements, eviction notices, a photograph of a younger Julia, her hair shorter, her smile unguarded. "She wasn't always like this," Lena said quietly. "Back then she was kind. She painted, She talked about opening a studio. But when her father died, everything changed. Debt collectors, loans, fear. She started lying to survive. Alexander nodded slowly, flipping through the papers. Then she married you. Yeah, Lena said. Because she thought I was safe. And I thought she was honest. For a long moment, neither spoke. The rain outside smeared the city lights into streaks of silver and gold. Finally, Alexander said, I traced the company that funded her foundation. It's a shell corporation. Someone's been laundering money through her charity accounts. Lena frowned. You think she's involved? I think she's being used, he said. But I can't prove it. She leaned forward. Then, what do you want from me? He looked at her directly. Help me reach her. She won't talk to me now, but she might talk to you. Lena stared at him, heart thudding. You're asking me to go back to her, after everything. I'm asking you to finish what she started, he said. If someone's pulling her strings, we need to know who. Lena looked down at her hands. They were trembling. And if she refuses to talk? Then I'll expose her, Alexander said calmly. Completely. There was a long pause. Then Lena said, I'll do it. But not for you. For me. I need to know why she left. He nodded once. You'll get your answers. Later that night, Lena walked home through the damp streets of Queens, her head spinning. Every step brought back a memory: Julia laughing in their old apartment, her fingers stained with paint, whispering dreams into the darkness. She pulled out her phone. Alexander had texted her an address. Meet her tomorrow. No security, no press, just the truth. Lena stood there, phone in hand, unsure if she was ready for what waited on the other side of that meeting. The next morning, she arrived at the address, an art gallery under renovation, its windows covered with brown paper, the smell of paint in the air. Inside, standing by a half-finished canvas, was Julia, or Juliet, as the world knew her now. She turned at the sound of footsteps. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Julia's voice was barely a whisper. You shouldn't have come. Oh, I didn't come for you, Lena said, stepping closer. I came for the truth. Julia's expression hardened. The truth can destroy everything. Then, maybe it should, Lena replied. The distance between them felt like years, and as Julia looked away, guilt flickering across her face, Lena knew one thing for certain. The woman she had loved was still hiding something, and this time, the lie might be deadly. The echo of their voices hung in the empty gallery, bouncing off the unfinished walls and cold tile floor. Julia, or Juliet, as she now called herself, set down her paintbrush and crossed her arms, the same defensive gesture Lena remembered from every argument they'd ever had. You shouldn't be here, Julia said again, her voice brittle. You don't understand what you've done. I understand you lied to me, Lena shot back. You disappeared. You faked your death. You made me mourn you for 3 years. Julia's jaw tightened. I had no choice. There's always a choice. Julia laughed, a hollow sound that didn't reach her eyes. You think I wanted to leave you? You think it was easy? You have no idea what was happening back then. Then tell me, Lena said, her voice cracking. Tell me why you left. For a long time, Julia said nothing. The rain outside drummed against the boarded windows, a slow, steady rhythm that filled the silence between them. Finally, Julia spoke. My father wasn't who you thought he was. He was deep in debt, millions. When he died, those debts didn't vanish. They came to me. The people he owed money to weren't banks, Lena. They were men who don't forgive and don't forget. Lena's heart sank. So you ran. I survived, Julia corrected. They threatened to come after anyone close to me. That meant you. I thought if I disappeared, they'd stop looking. And staging your death. That was your brilliant solution, Lena asked bitterly. Julia nodded, shame flickering across her face. A friend helped me. She worked at a law firm. She had connections, people who could change records, make new IDs. When I became Juliet Marlowe, I thought it was over. It wasn't, Lena said quietly. You just built a prettier lie. Julia's shoulders slumped. Maybe. But then I met Alexander. He made me believe I could start over. He didn't ask about my past. He didn't care who I used to be. He should have, Lena murmured. I know, Julia's voice broke. And now he hates me. I've ruined him, and I've ruined you. Everything I touch turns to ash. Lena took a hesitant step forward. Julia, I never wanted to destroy you. I just wanted the truth. Julia looked up, her eyes glossy with tears. Then here's the rest of it. The people who helped me disappear, they didn't do it out of kindness. They own me now. Every fake document, every dollar I made after I became Juliet, it's all tied to them. They're laundering money through my foundation. If I talk, they'll kill me. Lena felt her stomach twist. Who are they? Julia shook her head. I can't say their names. Not yet. You don't understand the reach they have. Even Alexander doesn't. Then let him help you, Lena pleaded. He has power, money. They'd ruin him too, Julia said sharply. That's what they do. They destroy from the inside. Lena stared at her, the truth settling like a weight in her chest. So what now? You keep running forever? Julia's lip trembled. No, I'm done running, but I can't protect you if you stay involved. Lena's eyes filled with tears. You lost that right the day you left. For a moment, they just stood there, two broken lives facing each other through years of lies and longing. Finally, Julia whispered, Tell Alexander to stop digging. Tell him to leave this alone. I can't, Lena said softly. You owe us both the truth. Julia turned away, gripping the edge of the canvas like it could hold her upright. Then you'd better be ready, she whispered, because the truth might kill us all. Alexander Reed wasn't a man who lost control. His whole empire had been built on calculation, on staying calm when everyone else panicked. But that afternoon, sitting alone in his office overlooking Manhattan, his hands wouldn't stop shaking. Juliet's confession replayed in his mind like a movie he couldn't turn off. Fake identity, hidden debts, dangerous people. He'd thought the worst thing she'd done was lie about her past. Now, it looked like her past might kill them both. The door opened. His head of security, Marcus Hale, stepped inside carrying a folder. You were right, Marcus said. We traced the shell company funding her charity. It's registered under a dozen aliases, but the money ends up in offshore accounts linked to the Vasaro crime family. Alexander leaned back, exhaling. Vasaro. Jesus Christ. Marcus nodded grimly. Their old money turned dirty. They've been laundering cash through art galleries, luxury events, anything that looks legitimate. Juliet's foundation was perfect for them. Alexander rubbed his temples. She said they're threatening her. Wouldn't surprise me. The Vasaros don't let anyone walk away clean. If she talked, they'd bury her. He stared at the city below, the lights beginning to flicker on as dusk fell. And Lena? She's caught in the middle of this. Marcus hesitated. You want my advice? Walk away. Both of them. This isn't your problem anymore. Alexander looked up, his jaw set. It became my problem the moment she put that ring on. Marcus sighed. Then you'll need protection. For all three of you. I'll handle that, Alexander said quietly. You just find me proof. Something I can use. When Marcus left, Alexander sat in the growing dark. The city reflected in the glass like a second world. He'd been betrayed, humiliated, and now dragged into something criminal, and yet, what hurt most wasn't the scandal. It was the memory of Juliet's trembling voice when she said she loved him. Love built on lies wasn't love, he'd told her. But what if she'd lied to survive, not to deceive? Could he still hate her for that? The intercom buzzed. Mr. Reed, his assistant said. Lena Carter is here. He straightened, forcing composure back into his voice. Send her in. Lena walked in hesitantly, wearing a dark coat still damp from the rain. She looked tired, but her eyes steady, defiant met his, without flinching. You talked to her, he said. I did. And? She's scared, Lena said softly. And not of us. There's something bigger. She says the people who helped her disappear are using her foundation for money laundering. I know, Alexander replied. My security team confirmed it. Lena blinked. So it's true. It's worse than that, he said. It's organized crime. If we go to the police, they'll deny everything. If we go public, we put her life and yours in danger. Lena crossed her arms. So what? We just do nothing? No, he said. We outsmart them. She frowned. That sounds like something a billionaire says before doing something stupid. He allowed himself a faint smirk. Probably. For a brief moment, the tension between them softened. There was something grounding about her presence. Unpolished. Real. Unafraid to challenge him. What's the plan? She asked. I'm still working on it, he admitted. But I need you to stay close. They'll expect me to make a move, not you. If she reaches out again, you tell me first. Lena nodded slowly. You think you can protect her? I have to, he said quietly. Because if I can't, they'll come for you next. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. Neither of them noticed the black SUV idling across the street, or the man inside snapping a photo of them through the rain-speckled glass. Someone else already knew their plan, and the game had just changed. The city never really slept, but that night it felt like it was holding its breath. Lena sat by the window of her small apartment, watching the rain streak down the glass, each drop a quiet countdown to something she couldn't name. Her brother Ethan had fallen asleep on the couch, curled beneath a worn blanket. The sound of his breathing grounded her. It reminded her there was still something worth fighting for. But beneath the calm, she felt it the shift. Someone was watching. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Miss Carter, a voice said. Low, male, smooth in a way that set her teeth on edge. You've been very busy. Who is this? That's not important, the man replied. What matters is what you're about to do. Walk away from Alexander Reed. Forget Juliet Marlowe. Stop digging. I don't scare easy, Lena said. You should, the man replied. We know where you live, where your brother sleeps. The line went dead. Lena's hands shook as she pulled the curtain shut. Her reflection in the window looked foreign, tired, pale, but defiant. She'd been pushed around by life long enough. Not this time. She grabbed her coat and headed out into the storm. Across town, Alexander's office lights still burned. He was leaning over a table covered in documents and digital printouts, each line a thread in the web surrounding Juliet's fake foundation. When the elevator chimed, he didn't even look up. You're supposed to be home, he said. I just got a call, Lena replied. Her hair was wet, her voice tight. Someone threatened my brother. That made him freeze. What? They knew my address, my brother's name, said to stop digging. Alexander's eyes darkened. Vassaro. Then they're watching us, she said. All of us. He paced, jaw clenched. We underestimated them. They're not just laundering money, they're protecting their whole operation through Juliet's charity. It's not about her anymore. It's about power. Lena swallowed hard. So what do we do? He looked up, his expression changing, calculating. We make them think we're walking away. What? He pulled a small flash drive from his pocket. This contains copies of every transfer we've traced so far. They'll want it. If we leak that we're destroying the data, they'll come for it themselves. That sounds like bait, she said. It is. You're insane. Probably, he admitted. But it's the only way to flush them out. Lena folded her arms. And if they call your bluff, then I make sure they regret it. She stared at him for a long moment. He didn't look like a billionaire anymore, just a man haunted by too many choices. And somehow, she trusted him. Fine, she said finally. What do you need me to do? He met her eyes. Stay with your brother tonight. I'll handle the rest. I'm not hiding, she said. This isn't hiding. It's staying alive. She hesitated, then nodded. Be careful, Alexander. He gave a small smile. That's not really my specialty. By midnight, the news leaked online. Read to destroy, evidence of Juliet scandal. Within an hour, half of Manhattan's criminal underworld had heard it. At 2:17 a.m., a black SUV parked 2 blocks from Reed Global. Inside, 2 men spoke in hushed tones. He's bluffing, one said. Doesn't matter, the other replied. We're taking it tonight. Back in his office, Alexander watched the live security feed. the flash drive sitting like bait on his desk. "They're coming," Marcus said through the earpiece. Alexander's eyes didn't leave the screen. "Good. Let's end this." But 3 miles away, a car engine roared to life outside Lena's apartment, and she wasn't the one driving it. The night was carved out of thunder and sirens. In the high-rise office of Reed Global, the city lights reflected off the glass walls like 1,000 blinking eyes. Alexander Reed stood behind his desk, calm but ready, the flash drive gleaming under the soft lamplight. "2 cars just stopped on the north side," Marcus said through the earpiece. "They're moving fast." "Security doors locked?" Alexander asked. "Locked, but these guys know what they're doing. I'd bet they're not here to talk." Alexander glanced once at the live feed, 4 masked men in tactical black, slipping through the lower lobby like shadows. They carried no visible weapons, which somehow made them more terrifying. Professionals didn't need to advertise. "Don't engage," Alexander said. "Just track them." "You got it." He turned to the window, the city glimmering behind him, and for a moment, his reflection looked like a stranger, a man who had spent years mastering control, now about to gamble everything. Downstairs, the intruders cut the power. The entire tower went dark. The backup generators kicked in seconds later, flooding the hallways with red emergency light. Alexander didn't move. He'd expected this. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, then a voice low, confident. "Mr. Reed," one of the men called out. "We just want to talk." Alexander leaned on his desk. "You're trespassing. My lawyers don't take kindly to that." The man chuckled. "Your lawyers won't matter when you're gone." Ugh. He stepped into the office, tall, clean-shaven, his mask now hanging loose around his neck. His accent was faintly Italian, his tone almost friendly. "Where's the drive?" Alexander gestured to it. "Right there." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You really think you can play with the Vassaros and walk away?" "I don't play games," Alexander said. "I win them." Before the man could respond, the security glass door slammed shut behind him, magnetically locked. Alexander picked up a small remote from the desk and pressed a button. The man spun, realizing too late that he was trapped. "I installed panic protocols after my last merger got ugly," Alexander said calmly. "Every door in this room locks from my side." The man smirked. "You think that'll stop us?" "Not forever," Alexander admitted, "but long enough." A sharp pop sounded through the earpiece gunfire in the stairwell. Marcus's voice followed, tight with urgency. "They split up, 2 heading to the garage, 1 to the server room." "Get the one in the server room," Alexander said. "He's after the backups." "What about you?" "I'll handle mine." The man inside the glass enclosure stepped closer, eyes narrowed. "You don't understand, Mr. Reed. You're already finished." Alexander tilted his head. "You first." He pressed another button. The sprinklers erupted, dousing the office in freezing water. The intruder cursed, slipping on the wet marble floor as security lights strobed across his face. By the time Marcus and 2 guards burst through the opposite door, the man was face down, coughing, hands zip-tied. Marcus grinned. "Nice work, boss." Alexander didn't smile. "Check his phone." Marcus scrolled quickly, then stopped. "He's been sending photos. Look, Lena's building." A cold rush hit Alexander like a punch. "How long ago?" 10 minutes. He didn't hesitate. "Get the car." As they tore through the rain-slick streets, Alexander's chest tightened. He'd told Lena to stay safe, and he'd failed her. By the time they reached her building, the front door was hanging open. The oxygen machine was still humming softly, but Ethan's blanket lay crumpled on the floor. "Lena," Alexander shouted. No answer. Only silence. He picked up a single clue from the kitchen table, a Polaroid photo. It showed Lena, bound to a chair, eyes wide with fear. On the back, written in red ink, were 4 words that made his blood run cold. "Trade the drive. Midnight." The clock on Alexander Reed's dashboard hit 11:47 p.m. as he sped across the George Washington Bridge, the rain turning the world outside into streaks of liquid light. Every second felt like it was falling off a cliff. In the passenger seat, Marcus loaded a pistol, checking the chamber with the precision of a man who'd seen too many of these nights. They said midnight, Marcus muttered. We're cutting it close. Alexander's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. They wanted me desperate. They got it. The flash drive sat on the center console. Small, almost meaningless looking, yet worth more than entire corporations. It wasn't just evidence, it was leverage. Proof of every illegal transfer, every shell account, every name. And now, it was the only thing keeping Lena alive. You really think they'll keep their word? Marcus asked. They won't, Alexander said. But they'll keep her breathing long enough to get this. They pulled off the highway onto a deserted industrial lot by the river. Floodlights glared down on cracked concrete and rusted shipping containers. Midnight loomed. A black SUV idled near the edge of the dock. The same smooth voice from the phone earlier echoed across the rain. Mr. Reed, you came alone? Alexander stepped out slowly, coat drenched, the flash drive glinting in his hand. Let her go. The man stepped forward from the shadows, the same clean-cut face from the office break-in. His tone was pleasant, but his eyes were dead. First, the drive. Alexander shook his head. We do this together. The man's smile didn't change. You don't negotiate with us. You comply. A second SUV door opened, and Lena stumbled out, wrists bound, face pale but furious. Don't do it, she shouted. He's lying. Quiet. One of the guards hissed, shoving her forward. Alexander's pulse thundered. You hurt her, and this drive goes to every federal office in the country. The man tilted his head. You won't do that. Because then she dies anyway. The rain hammered down harder, thunder rolling low and distant like an approaching drumbeat. Alexander weighed the odds. 4 men, armed, maybe more unseen. Marcus was positioned behind a container 50 yards away, waiting for the signal. He took a step forward, extending the drive. You get what you want. I get her back. The man nodded to his men. Release her. They pushed Lena forward. Her knees buckled, but she caught herself and looked up, eyes locking on Alexander's. Something in her gaze froze him. Not fear. Warning. He turned his head slightly and caught it, a faint red dot moving up the side of his coat. A laser sight. Sniper. Marcus's voice came through the earpiece, urgent. Boss, get down. Too late. The first shot rang out, shattering the floodlight above them. The second hit the ground inches from Alexander's feet. He dove, dragging Lena down with him as chaos exploded around them. Marcus returned fire, bullets ricocheting off metal. The dock became a storm of light and sound. Move, Alexander shouted, pulling Lena toward the car. Go, go, go. They sprinted, ducking behind a truck as rounds tore through the air. Marcus's voice crackled. 2 down, 1 retreating. The gunfire slowed, then stopped. Silence. Alexander looked up, rain dripping from his hair. The SUV was gone. So was the man. Only the echo of tires and the smell of gunpowder remained. Lena clutched his sleeve. You still have it? He opened his fist. The flash drive sat there, wet but intact. We just told them we're not afraid, he said, breathing hard. Lena's voice trembled. And now they'll come for all of us. Alexander stared into the dark horizon where the SUVs had vanished. Then we stop running, he said. We take the fight to them. The sun rose blood red over the skyline, cutting through the fog like a warning. Alexander Reed hadn't slept. He sat in his penthouse office with a towel around his neck, bruised from the fight and soaked in exhaustion. The flash drive lay on the desk in front of him, still damp from the night before. Marcus stood by the window, eyes scanning the street below. You realize what this means, right? You didn't just make enemies, you declared war. Alexander didn't look up. I was already at war. I just didn't know it. Lena sat on the couch, wrapped in a borrowed sweatshirt, her knuckles still scraped raw. She hadn't spoken since they got back. Her mind kept replaying the sound of gunfire, the smell of oil and rain, the sight of one of the men dropping in front of her. Finally, she said quietly, someone tipped them off. They knew exactly where to hit. Alexander's jaw tightened. You think Juliet? She's terrified, not suicidal, Lena said, shaking her head. This came from inside. Someone close to you. Marcus turned. Impossible. Every member of your staff is vetted. Then start unvetting, Alexander said. Check everyone, every call, every contact. If someone's feeding them information, I want a name. Lena rubbed her temples. What if they come again? They will, Alexander said, which is why we move first. She stared at him. You sound like you've done this before. He gave a humorless smile. You don't build an empire without making a few enemies. I've dealt with sharks in suits, not hitmen, but strategies the same. You hit before they regroup. Marcus cleared his throat. There's one more problem. The cops. Alexander frowned. What about them? The shootout last night wasn't exactly subtle. They found shell casings at the docks. Anonymous tip already named you as being there. Perfect, Alexander muttered. We survive an ambush, and now I'm the criminal. You want me to handle it? Marcus asked. No, Alexander said. Let them come. I'll tell them everything except the parts that get us killed. Lena rose from the couch. I should go. The longer I stay here, the more danger you're in. He looked at her, eyes sharp. You think I'm worried about danger? You should be, she said. I'm not worth this. Alexander stepped closer, his voice quiet but certain. You're the only reason this makes sense anymore. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and swore. Boss, you need to see this. He turned the phone around. A news alert flashed across the display. Juliet Marlowe, under investigation for fraud. FBI raids her foundation headquarters. Lena's eyes widened. Oh my God. They moved faster than I thought, Alexander said. The Vasseros are burning evidence, Marcus added. They're not just burning files, they're burning her. She's the fall girl now. Lena's breath caught. They'll kill her to keep her quiet. Alexander grabbed his coat. Then we get to her first. Marcus stepped forward. You sure that's smart? She's the reason this all started. She's also the only one who can prove how deep this goes, Alexander said. Without her, this ends with our funerals. He turned to Lena. You coming? She hesitated, then nodded. You already know I'm not the one who runs. Marcus groaned. This is suicide. Alexander met his gaze. No, this is justice. They moved fast, storming into the elevator as the city outside came alive. Sirens wailed in the distance. News choppers hovered. And somewhere downtown, Juliet Marlowe was being hunted by the same people she'd once called allies. And Alexander Reed was about to walk straight into the crossfire. The sky over downtown Manhattan boiled with clouds, bruised purple and gray, heavy with the promise of rain. The storm mirrored the chaos below sirens, flashing lights, reporters swarming the street outside Juliet Marlowe's luxury apartment tower. Alexander's black SUV screeched to a stop half a block away. He and Marcus jumped out first. Lena followed, heart pounding so hard it blurred her hearing. FBI's already here, Marcus said, scanning the scene. They've locked down the building. Alexander's voice was sharp. Not the roof. She'll run before she lets them take her alive. Lena froze. You think she's desperate, Alexander interrupted. And desperate people don't make rational choices. They ducked through a side entrance, Marcus flashing a forged clearance badge to distract the agents. Within seconds, they were in the elevator, climbing floor by floor toward the top. Lena pressed her back to the wall, whispering, She's not a killer, Alexander. Oh, no, he said softly, but she's dying of guilt. That's close enough. The elevator dinged. The doors opened onto the rooftop, where wind howled between steel beams and the glow of the city stretched endlessly below. Juliet stood near the edge, her red hair whipping wildly in the wind, her phone clutched tight in one hand. Her clothes were soaked, her expression hollow. She turned slowly as they stepped out. You shouldn't have come. Alexander took a cautious step forward. Put the phone down. She laughed weakly. Relax. I'm not calling anyone. The Vasseros already did that for me. They want me gone, Alex. I'm their loose end. You can fix this, he said, his tone steady but pleading. Testify. Give me names, records. I can protect you. You can't protect yourself, she said bitterly. They'll come for you too. You should have stayed away. Lena stepped forward. Julia, listen to me. You don't have to die for them. Juliet flinched at the name Julia, the one she'd buried with her old life. You still think I'm worth saving? Yes, Lena said, her voice trembling. Even after everything. Yes. Juliet's eyes filled with tears. You're a fool. Maybe, Lena whispered, but at least I still have a soul. The wind picked up, whipping rain sideways across the rooftop. Alexander edged closer. Come back inside, Juliet. Please. You don't want to do this. She turned toward him, her voice breaking. You loved me, Alex. You made me believe I could start over. You still can. Her lip trembled. No, I built this life on lies. Every good thing I touched turned to poison. I hurt you. I hurt her. She looked at Lena. And now they want me gone. Maybe I should give them what they want. Alexander took another step, hand outstretched. No one deserves that. You want redemption? Help us end this. Juliet looked between them, her expression twisting between agony and longing. Then her phone buzzed. The screen flashed. Unknown caller. Her face went pale. It's them. Don't answer, Alexander said sharply. Juliet's thumb hovered, shaking. If I don't, they'll come here. They'll kill all of us. Lena grabbed her arm. Then let them come. But you don't die for them. For a moment, everything froze: the wind, the rain, the world. Juliet looked at Lena's hand gripping hers, then at Alexander's steady gaze, and something shifted in her eyes. A flicker of courage. She threw the phone off the roof. It vanished into the storm. I'm done running, she whispered. The door behind them burst open, Marcus shouting, We've got company! 3 armed men, in black, stormed through, guns raised. Alexander shoved Lena down, pulling his sidearm. Get behind me! Juliet screamed as the first shot cracked through the rain. And on that rooftop, love, betrayal, and vengeance collided in a single blinding flash of thunder and gunfire. The rooftop erupted into chaos. Thunder cracked overhead, flashing white light across the wet concrete as bullets tore through the air. Alexander dove behind an air conditioning unit, dragging Lena down beside him. The smell of gunpowder mixed with rain, sharp and metallic. Marcus shouted from the stairwell, returning fire. 2 shooters! Left flank! Alexander popped up, fired twice, and ducked again. Keep them off, Lena! Lena's hands trembled as she pressed herself against the ground. She could hear Juliet crying somewhere near the edge, voice shaking with terror. I didn't want this, Juliet screamed. I just wanted it to stop, Alexander shouted back. Then help us end it. Another shot whizzed past, shattering a floodlight. Sparks rained down, glowing briefly before dying in the rain. One of the gunmen advanced, his silhouette outlined by the lightning. He moved like someone who'd done this 100 times before. Lena's pulse pounded in her ears. She saw him raise his gun, aiming directly at Alexander. Without thinking, she grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and swung it as he passed. The blow landed hard against his arm. The gun clattered away. He turned, furious, grabbing her wrist and shoving her back. Wrong move, sweetheart. Before he could strike again, a single gunshot echoed. The man froze, eyes wide, then fell to his knees. Behind him stood Juliet, holding the pistol with shaking hands. I'm done running, she whispered again, her voice hollow. The silence that followed was shattered by another shot, this one hitting her. The impact spun her backward. Alexander lunged, catching her before she fell. Julia! He yelled, his voice raw. Lena scrambled over, her heart twisting at the sight of blood blooming across Juliet's side. The rain was washing it away too fast, like the world itself refused to hold it. Juliet looked up at them, her eyes glassy. It doesn't hurt, she lied. Alexander pressed a hand over the wound, his voice breaking. Stay with me, she smiled faintly. You never should have come. Don't talk, Lena said, tears streaking down her face. Juliet's fingers reached for hers, weak but certain. You were the only good thing I ever did right, she whispered. Both of you. I'm sorry I wasn't brave sooner. Her hand went limp. For a moment, all sound vanished. The rain, the wind, even the distant sirens. The world held still. Then Marcus shouted, They're retreating! We've got one alive! But Alexander didn't move. He held Juliet's body against him, jaw clenched. the rain pouring down his face like grief made visible. Lena sat beside them, numb, the weight of everything crushing her chest. "She saved you," she whispered. Alexander nodded slowly. "She saved us both." Paramedics burst onto the rooftop minutes later, followed by FBI agents. Marcus handed over the surviving gunman, bloodied but conscious. One of the agents knelt beside Alexander. "We'll take it from here, sir." He didn't answer. As the stretcher carried Juliet's body away, Lena touched his arm. "You did what you could." His voice came low and hollow. "Not enough." The agent approached again. "We'll need statements. But whatever she gave you," he said, glancing at the flash drive Alexander still held, "it might be enough to bring them down for good." Alexander stared at it, the tiny piece of metal that had cost so many lives. "Then we finish it," he said quietly. "No more running. No more secrets." Lena looked at him, rain dripping from her lashes. Together. He met her gaze. Together. Down below, the sirens wailed louder, echoing through the night a requiem for the woman who had started it all and the truth she'd finally died to reveal. But in the chaos she left behind, something else was born, a vow to burn the darkness out, once and for all. The morning after the rooftop gunfight, Manhattan looked almost peaceful, the kind of cruel calm that follows a storm. But peace was an illusion. Beneath the surface, the city buzzed with headlines, investigations, and whispers of corruption that reached into places even Alexander Reed hadn't touched. He sat in his office, the same one where this nightmare had begun, a bandage on his temple and a bruise darkening his jaw. Across the desk sat an FBI agent named Keller, mid-40s. Sharp eyes, no patience for billionaires. "So," Keller said, tapping a pen against his notebook, "you're telling me your fiancé's foundation was a front for money laundering, run by the Vasaro crime family, and you just happened to find out after she died on your rooftop?" Alexander's voice stayed calm, but his knuckles whitened. "I didn't happen to find out. I fought to uncover it, and I nearly died doing it." Keller studied him for a long moment. "You realize how bad this looks, right? Your company has ties to multiple Vasaro shell accounts. That's not coincidence." Marcus stepped forward, slapping a folder on the table. "Those ties were planted. We traced the falsified records. They tried to drag Reed Global down with her." Keller flipped through the file, unimpressed. "We'll verify it. In the meantime, don't leave the city." When the agent left, the silence hit heavy. Marcus exhaled. "They're not just after her. They're coming for your name now." Alexander rubbed his eyes. "Let them come. I've got something they don't." From his pocket, he pulled out the flash drive, the one Lena had nearly died for. "This holds everything. Account numbers, aliases, offshore routes. Juliet gave her life making sure it didn't end up in the wrong hands." Marcus frowned. "And what happens if the FBI seizes it?" "Then the Vasaros win." The office door opened quietly. Lena stepped in, wearing borrowed clothes from the night before. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with determination. "You should give it to them," she said softly. Alexander looked at her, surprised. "What?" "If you keep it, they'll keep coming. You think they care about money? They want control. They'll kill anyone who stands in the way." "I'm not handing this over to people who might already be compromised," he said. "If Keller's on their payroll, the evidence disappears the second I blink." Lena crossed her arms. "So what's your plan? Go vigilante billionaire?" He almost smiled. "Something like that." She shook her head. "You can't save the world alone, Alexander. You tried that. You lost her." The words landed like a knife. He didn't reply. Marcus broke the silence. "If we leak it directly to the press, it's over. No one can bury it then." Lena nodded. "Do it. Let the truth out." Alexander hesitated. "Juliet asked me to protect her legacy, not destroy it." Lena stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. "She died so the truth could live. That is her legacy." For a moment, he looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression softened. "You sound just like her." "No," she said quietly. "I sound like someone who's tired of watching good people die for bad secrets." He stared down at the drive. then handed it to Marcus. "Send it to every major outlet, all at once." Marcus nodded and left the room, already dialing. When the door shut, Lena exhaled, the tension finally breaking. "So that's it? It's over?" Alexander shook his head. "No. This is the part where they strike back." Outside, thunder rolled across the skyline again, not from the weather, but from the chaos about to erupt. Because truth, once released, doesn't just set you free. It burns everything that tries to hide from it. The story broke before sunrise. Every major network, every feed, every glowing screen in Times Square flashed the same headline. "Read, Global exposes billion-dollar laundering empire. FBI confirms Vassaro involvement." The footage of the rooftop shootout leaked within hours. It showed Juliet's face, her final words, and Alexander Reed kneeling beside her in the rain. The world was mesmerized, half mourning her, half worshipping him. By noon, chaos ruled the markets. Stocks crashed, assets froze, and one by one, high-profile arrests began. Senators, bankers, tech moguls, all linked to the Vassaro network. Lena watched it all unfold from Alexander's penthouse balcony, her coffee untouched, her eyes hollow. "She would have hated this," she murmured. Alexander joined her, his tie loose, exhaustion etched into his face. "She wanted the truth out." "Not like this," Lena said. "Not with her name dragged through the mud." She's not the villain anymore," he said quietly. The press turned her into the tragic hero, the woman who died to expose corruption. They got that part right. Lena set her mug down. "And what about you? They're calling you the savior billionaire now. Does that help you sleep?" He gave a bitter laugh. "No. Heroes get to walk away clean. I'm just the one who survived." The doorbell rang. Marcus stepped in, holding a stack of folders. "It's done. Every major player tied to the Vassaros is either in custody or on the run. But there's a problem." Alexander raised an eyebrow. "There always is." Marcus dropped the folders on the table. "Somebody's cleaning up the mess too efficiently. Witnesses disappearing. Evidence getting scrubbed. Someone's tying off loose ends." "Inside the bureau?" Alexander asked. "Maybe. Or maybe higher." Lena frowned. "You mean there's someone above the Vassaros?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Someone funding them. Someone untouchable." Alexander's eyes darkened. "Then we're not done." "Alex," Lena said, her voice gentle but firm. "You already won. The truth's out. Don't go looking for another fight." He turned toward her, gaze steady. "You think this is over because the news cycle moved on? This goes deeper than her death, deeper than my company. If we stop now, more people die quietly." Lena stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. "You can't save everyone." He looked at her, the distance between them suddenly filled with something heavier than words. "Maybe not, but I can save what's left of her name. And yours." She swallowed hard. "You don't have to protect me." "Yes," he said softly. "I do." Marcus cleared his throat, breaking the tension. "For now, you both need to lay low. I'll keep digging." When he left, silence settled again. The city buzzed below them, alive with the sound of victory and scandal. Lena leaned against the window. "You ever wonder what comes after the truth?" Alexander smiled faintly. "Chaos. Always chaos." She laughed under her breath. "Then maybe we should disappear. Start over. Somewhere quiet." He looked at her for a long time, as if trying to decide whether that idea was fantasy or salvation. "Maybe we will," he said finally. "But not yet." The rain began again, soft and steady, washing the glass in silver streaks. Lena turned toward him. "You know, she'd be proud of you." "Ugh." Alexander's voice was low. "No, she'd be proud of you. You kept fighting when I couldn't." Their eyes met two survivors, standing in the wreckage of a story that had devoured everyone else. Neither of them noticed the black sedan parked 2 blocks away, engine idling, camera lens aimed up at their window. The storm might have passed, but in the shadows, someone new was already waiting to start the next one. 2 weeks later, the world had already moved on, or at least pretended to. The media called it the Reed expose. Politicians called it A wake-up call. Everyone else called it entertainment, but inside Reed Global, the aftermath still burned. Meetings, lawsuits, endless calls with investigators. It was survival, not victory. Alexander stood at the center of it all, surrounded by screens and silence. The flash drive that had shattered an empire now sat sealed in an FBI evidence locker, and yet, something felt unfinished. Lena entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You look like you haven't slept in a week," she said. He glanced up, smirking faintly. "I haven't." "You? Sleep's overrated." She handed him a cup. "So, what's keeping you here at midnight again?" He tapped the keyboard, pulling up encrypted financial data on a monitor. Something's wrong. The Vassaro's accounts weren't just shut down, they were transferred. Lena frowned. Transferred to where? He zoomed in on the pattern. A dummy corporation. Offshore. And whoever's moving the money, they're good. Cleaner than anything I've seen. She set her coffee down, worry flickering in her eyes. "You think someone survived the takedown?" He nodded. "Or someone planned for it." Before he could explain further, Marcus burst through the door, face pale. "We've got a problem." Alexander turned. "Bigger than usual?" Marcus tossed a folder on the table. Inside were photo security footage, printed in black and white. Lena's stomach dropped when she saw them. It was her, leaving the building, talking to someone in a parking garage, a tall man in a trench coat. "What the hell is this?" she demanded. "That's what I'd like to know," Marcus said. "The Bureau sent me these this morning. They think you're working for the other side." Lena's face went red. "That's insane. I haven't left this building except to breathe." "Oh?" Alexander scanned the photos closely. "These are doctored." Marcus crossed his arms. "Maybe. Or maybe someone's setting her up." Lena stepped back, shaking her head. "I swear, Alex, I didn't." "I believe you," he said immediately, cutting her off. She froze. "You do?" He nodded. "Because if you were playing me, you wouldn't look that scared." Marcus sighed. "Whoever's behind this wants to break your alliance. Divide and conquer." "Then they underestimated us," Alexander said. "We've already seen how this game ends." But even as he spoke, Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. "You shouldn't have trusted him." Her blood ran cold. She handed the phone to Alexander. "They're still watching." He clenched his jaw. "Then let them watch." He moved to the desk, typing furiously. Code filled the screen, layer upon layer of encrypted paths. "If they want to play Ghost, we'll smoke them out." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You're hacking your own network." "I built this network," Alexander said. "They're using my servers to launder the rest of the money. I'll find the entry point." Lena stepped closer, watching the lines of code scroll by. "You really think you can outsmart whoever's behind this?" He gave a small, grim smile. "I don't think. I know." After several tense minutes, he froze. There, on the screen, a new name appeared, a file signature hidden in the data trail. "Project Seraphim." Lena whispered, "What is that?" Alexander stared at the code, expression darkening. "Something Juliet never told us about. This wasn't just money laundering. It was intelligence, blackmail, political control, information trade," Marcus muttered. "Which means the people left standing aren't criminals. They're governments." The room fell silent. The stakes had just grown beyond anything they'd imagined. Lena looked at Alexander. "So what do we do now?" He met her gaze, eyes cold with resolve. "We finish what she started." Because Juliet's death hadn't ended the story, it had only exposed the first layer of a secret that could topple nations. The storm had rolled back in by the time Alexander, Lena, and Marcus gathered inside the dim glow of the control room. Monitors flickered, filling the space with pale blue light. Outside, thunder grumbled, like a warning from the gods. On the main screen, the encrypted project files pulsed Project Seraphim. Alexander's eyes tracked the data flow, every keystroke deliberate. Lena stood behind him, arms wrapped around herself, trying to shake off the chill that had settled in her bones. Marcus broke the silence first. "If this is what it looks like, It's not just laundering, it's surveillance. The Vassaros were data brokers selling state secrets. Alexander nodded grimly. Political leverage disguised as charity. Juliet didn't just stumble into their world, she was groomed by it. Lena's voice trembled. You're saying she was part of this? She might have been their test subject, he said. Or their scapegoat. Marcus leaned closer to the monitor. Look at this tag embedded metadata in the Seraphim files. The timestamps are from months before you ever met her, Alex. Alexander frowned. Then she was in their pocket long before me. Lena shook her head. No. She told me she didn't know who she was dealing with until it was too late. She wasn't their partner, she was their prisoner. The words hung heavy between them. Alexander looked at her, his expression unreadable. You really believe that? Lena hesitated. I have to. He turned away. Belief won't save us. Proof will. Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced down and froze. We've got company. On the security feed, black SUVs rolled up outside the building. Teams of men poured out tactical gear, weapons drawn. They found us, Marcus said. Lena's heart raced. FBI? Alexander shook his head. No insignia. Private. These are cleaners Seraphim's backup plan. The lights flickered. The building's power grid dropped for half a second. Alexander moved fast, yanking the flash drive from the terminal and sliding it into his jacket. We can't let them take this, he said. Marcus grabbed his pistol. We'll need an exit. Loading dock, Alexander said. There's a service tunnel that opens on 5th. Lena followed them down the back stairwell. The echo of boots above them was getting closer, organized, methodical. At the bottom, Marcus checked the hallway. Clear. Oh. They ran, shoes splashing through shallow puddles from the leaking pipes overhead. Lena's lungs burned, adrenaline pumping cold fire through her veins. Suddenly, a voice came from the shadows. Going somewhere? A man stepped into the light, the same one who'd led the rooftop ambush weeks earlier. Clean suit, calm smile, eyes like polished steel. Alexander drew his weapon. You don't want to do this. The man smirked. You still think you're the hero of this story, Reed? You're just another pawn. Seraphim doesn't end with me. It never ends. He nodded slightly, and gunfire erupted. Marcus tackled Lena behind a steel beam. Alexander fired back, each shot precise, controlled. The exchange lasted seconds that felt like hours. Then Marcus gasped, dropping to one knee, blood seeping through his shirt. Marcus! Lena screamed. I'm fine, he grunted, firing one last round that dropped a shooter near the exit. Go! Alexander pulled Lena forward. Move! They burst through the side door, rain slamming down as alarms wailed behind them. Marcus's gunfire echoed until it didn't anymore. Lena stopped, trembling. We can't just leave him. Alexander turned, eyes hard but wet. If we go back, his sacrifice means nothing. A flash of lightning illuminated the street, and in that split second, Lena saw the truth in his face. He wasn't a billionaire anymore. He was a man carrying ghosts. She grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. Then we end it. Tonight. He nodded slowly. Tonight. And as they vanished into the storm, the world's most powerful secret chased them, desperate to stay buried one last time. The city was a blur of flashing sirens and reflected rain as Alexander and Lena raced through the night. The stolen black sedan roared down the empty highway toward the harbor, the last place left untouched by the chaos. Every drop of rain felt heavier, as if the sky itself knew the story was reaching its end. Inside the car, Lena's hands gripped the dashboard. You're bleeding, she said quietly. Alexander looked down, noticing the blood seeping through his sleeve. Just a scratch. You said that last time, she muttered. That's what people say right before they die. He glanced at her, a faint, tired smile crossing his face. I'm not dying until this ends. They reached the docks minutes later. The place was deserted, a forest of shipping containers stacked like tombstones. Somewhere within that maze waited the last piece of the puzzle. Project Seraphim's command hub. Lena followed him through the narrow aisles, rain dripping from the steel walls. You're sure about this? Alexander nodded. If we upload Juliet's data into the public network, Seraphim's entire infrastructure collapses. Every blackmail file, every secret, it all becomes visible. And every person they own loses their leverage, Lena said. Including the people who'll kill us for it. He glanced back at her. Exactly. They reached a dimly lit container-turned-server room, humming with energy. Cables snaked across the floor, connecting to a single terminal glowing faint blue. Alexander sat down, inserted the flash drive, and began the upload. On screen, thousands of encrypted files began decrypting in real time. Names, account numbers, contracts, the hidden architecture of global power. Lena's heart pounded. This is insane. You're exposing governments. Good, Alexander said. It's time they learned what it feels like to be seen. Suddenly, static crackled through the speakers. A voice, calm, familiar, filled the room. I warned you, Mr. Reed. Lena froze. It was him, the man from the rooftop. You think you're saving the world, the voice said, but you're just lighting the fuse. When those files go public, the balance collapses. You don't expose corruption, you unleash anarchy. Alexander's fingers flew across the keys. Better chaos than control. The voice chuckled. Then chaos it is. The server lights flickered. The upload stalled at 98%. System interference, Alexander said through gritted teeth. He's trying to stop it remotely. Lena rushed to the power core. What do you need? He looked up. Rainwater and sweat running down his face. Manual override. Pull the breaker when I say go. The voice came again, colder now. You can't win, Reed. Seraphim doesn't die. It just evolves, Alexander shouted. Now. Lena yanked the lever. Sparks exploded, lights flaring bright white before plunging the container into darkness. The hum died. For a terrifying moment, there was silence then, a soft beep from the terminal. Upload complete, it said. Lena gasped. You did it. Alexander leaned back, breathing hard. No, we did. Outside, the horizon began to glow, not from dawn, but from 1,000 screens across the world, lighting up at once. The files were live. Governments, CEOs, entire systems of power laid bare. Lena stepped beside him, her voice trembling. What happens now? He watched the rain ease into mist. Now, the truth belongs to everyone. They walked out onto the pier as sirens approached in the distance. The night air was cold but clean. For the first time in months, Alexander felt lighter. He turned to her. You could walk away now. Start fresh. Lena smiled, softly. Not without you. He reached for her hand firm, steady, alive. Then we start over, he said. No lies, no ghosts. Together, they watched the storm clear. Dawn, breaking over the city that had nearly destroyed them. And somewhere deep in the shadows, Seraphim's servers flickered dying embers of a monster finally starved of secrets. And that's how our story ends. Not with revenge, but with truth finally finding the light. You're still here, aren't you? That means something in this story touched your heart in its own quiet way. Maybe it's because, like Alexander and Lena, you've also been through storms that stripped everything down to what's real. The lesson hiding in their pain is simple but powerful. No secret can survive the light, and no wound stays open forever. As the Stoics remind us, what stands in the way becomes the way. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every mistake, they're not barriers. They're the road to becoming whole again. So, if life has ever knocked you down, remember this. Truth might hurt, but it also heals. Courage doesn't mean being fearless. It means choosing honesty when fear tells you to stay silent. If this story stirred something inside you, share it. Let someone else find a piece of strength in it too. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with us for the next story, because sometimes the stories we share are how we heal together.